In the quiet stillness of Maplewood, a town so small it barely made it onto regional maps, life moved with a gentle rhythm that felt almost untouched by time. It was the kind of town where neighbors waved across picket fences, where the scent of fresh pies drifted from kitchen windows, and where the streets glowed softly under the warm amber touch of old-fashioned street lamps. And in a cozy yellow house at the end of Willow Lane, Olivia Matthews lived with the tender hope of a mother-to-be who counted her blessings with every sunrise. At 8 months pregnant, she carried her child with a reverence that felt sacred, as though every heartbeat within her was a quiet reminder of the fragile miracle of life. Her husband worked the night shifts at a nearby factory, and though she often missed his comforting presence in those long hours, she filled the evenings with peaceful routines, folding tiny clothes, humming lullabies, imagining the little future that waited patiently for her child's arrival. That night began just like any other, a calm, ordinary night in a town that rarely saw chaos. The air was cool, brushing gently against the windows as the autumn wind whispered through the trees. The sky shimmered with faint stars, half covered by drifting clouds that made the night feel soft, almost drowsy. Olivia had settled into bed early, pressing her hands lovingly around the curve of her belly, feeling the soft kicks and the quiet shifting of the little life she had spent months dreaming about. She whispered tender promises to her unborn baby, promises of a peaceful home, a safe future, and a mother who would always protect them, no matter what the world demanded. But sometimes, destiny listens to our promises in ways we don't expect. And sometimes, it tests the strength of those who believe they are ordinary. It began as a smell, faint, strange, and out of place. Olivia stirred in her half-sleep, unsure if the scent was real or just the remnant of a dream. But then she smelled it again, slightly stronger this time. A faint, smoky, burning scent, the kind that never belonged inside a quiet home at midnight. Her eyes blinked open slowly, adjusting to the dim light spilling from the hallway night lamp. For a moment, fear did not yet exist. There was only confusion, a soft frown, and the instinctive tightening of her hand around her belly. She pushed herself up gently, feeling a flutter of movement beneath her ribs. Her baby reacted to her shifting breath, as though sensing her unease. She whispered softly, "It's okay, little one. Mama's here." She stepped out of bed with caution, steadying herself before each movement the way she had been trained to do in her last trimester. Her body was heavy, full, protective. Every step felt purposeful. She walked toward the window to look outside, and what she saw turned her quiet world into something unrecognizable. Across the street, one of the neighbors' houses glowed strangely, as though a bright light were flickering wildly behind the curtains. It was too frantic, too uneven to be anything natural. And then she saw the smoke, dark, curling, rising fast and steady into the night sky. For a moment, her breath caught. In Maplewood, house fires were nearly unheard of. This was the kind of danger that people in small towns believe happens somewhere else, never here. Her heart thudded in her chest, not out of panic for herself, but for the family who lived inside that home. The Talbot family, kind, hardworking, always smiling, were deep sleepers. She remembered many evenings watching their lights stay on late, but tonight the house appeared unaware, untouched by alarm. No silhouettes moved behind the windows, no signs of waking. And the fire was growing faster than her mind could process. Olivia pressed her hand to the glass, feeling a coldness that contrasted sharply with the burning fear rising within her. The smoke was thickening. The flames were brightening. Time was shrinking. And there, in the stillness of her home, something inside her shifted, an instinct deeper than logic, stronger than fear. It was the instinct of a mother, one who understood that life, any life, was precious, sacred, irreplaceable. Her child moved again, as if reminding her that courage sometimes comes from the life we carry, not the life we fear losing. She took a slow, grounding breath and whispered, "I can't just watch this happen." Without wasting a moment, she grabbed her long knitted robe, slipped on her slippers, and hurried toward the door. Her heart beat with a rhythm far louder than her footsteps, echoing through her body like a drum. Opening the front door, she felt a rush of cold air hit her face, but it did nothing to calm the heat of urgency that filled her veins. The night, once peaceful, now felt alive with danger. Smoke drifted down the street, moving like a warning through the air. Everything smelled burned, sharp, frightening. Olivia held her belly as she descended the porch steps, partly for balance, partly as if shielding her unborn child from the unknown. The wind dragged smoke toward her, stinging her eyes. She coughed softly but pushed forward, one step after another, her resolve stronger than her fear. As she reached the edge of the Talbots' yard, she saw the fire more clearly. Flames crawled up the side of the house like hungry fingers reaching for the sky. The cracked window near the kitchen glowed with the terrible brightness of destruction. The roof's edges were beginning to smolder. The fire was spreading, fast, faster than anyone inside could possibly detect. Olivia called their names, shouting as loud as her voice allowed. "Mr. Talbot! Mrs. Talbot! Wake up!" Her voice, though powerful with urgency, sounded smaller than she expected against the violent crackling of fire. She shouted again, louder. Nothing. No movement. No door opening. No answer. The realization hit her like a wave. They were still asleep. Her mind raced. She knew she should call for help, but she also knew that even if she did, by the time firefighters arrived, it might be too late. The nearest fire station was 15 minutes away on a good night. Tonight, with the wind feeding the flames, 15 minutes felt like a lifetime. She looked at the house. She looked at her belly. She felt her baby shift, almost uncomfortably, as though sensing the rising danger. And yet, something in Olivia held firm, not reckless, but brave in the quietest, purest way a human heart can be brave. She whispered to her child again, "Hold on for me." Then she moved. She stepped onto the Talbots' porch, her feet trembling lightly beneath her, the smoke now thick enough to sting her lungs with every breath. She banged on the door with both hands, her voice rising into a cry. "Wake up! There's a fire!" Still nothing. No footsteps. No sounds. She pushed against the door instinctively. It was unlocked. She hesitated for half a second, gripping her belly as though silently asking her unborn child for forgiveness. And then, with courage stronger than the quiet life she had always known, she stepped inside. The house was dim and hazy, the faint glow from the kitchen illuminating the smoky air like fog tinted with danger. The heat was not yet unbearable, but it was creeping forward, growing hungry. She could feel it on her face, warming her skin in the most unnatural, terrifying way. She called their names again, coughing lightly. She moved past the foyer, her breath coming short. Her baby shifted again, reminding her to be careful. At last, she heard it, a distant stirring upstairs. A sleepy voice, confused, unaware. She shouted again, and this time, her voice cracked. But it was enough. Footsteps hurried down the staircase, frantic, stumbling, as Mr. Talbot appeared, his eyes widening at the sight of Olivia standing inside his burning home. He looked like a man surfacing from a dream straight into a nightmare. Behind him, his wife appeared, clutching their 6-year-old daughter who had just been woken from sleep. There was no time for explanations, no time for questions. Olivia simply pointed toward the kitchen, where flames were beginning to consume the cabinets. Her voice struggled through coughs. "You have to get out. Now." The Talbots acted quickly, rushing outside with the urgency of people who realized how close they had come to tragedy. They ushered their daughter into the cool night, clutching her tightly, breathlessly thanking Olivia even as they watched their home succumb to the fire that had nearly stolen their lives. But Olivia was not finished. As she stepped back outside, Her eyes scanned the street, and horror washed over her again. The fire had leapt. Embers carried by the wind landed on the roof of another home, the Carters, and the shingles glowed faintly, dangerously. Olivia felt a surge of disbelief, followed by the crushing understanding that this was no longer a single house fire. It was becoming a chain reaction, a neighborhood emergency. She pressed a hand to her chest, breathing through the sharp pain of smoke-filled lungs. Her body begged her to stop. Her baby twitched uncomfortably. She felt lightheaded, frightened, exhausted, but her spirit refused to break. These people were her neighbors. They were family she had waved to for years. They were people she shared life with in the quiet ways small towns do. And she knew that if she didn't act, if she didn't move now, more houses would follow. More lives, more stories, more futures. She whispered to her child, "I'm doing this for you too, for the world you're going to be born into." She hurried toward the next house, her steps unsteady but determined. She pounded on their front door, shouting for them to wake up. Her voice was weaker now, hoarse from smoke, but her urgency was unmistakable. Light flicked on. A dog barked. The door flew open, revealing confusion that quickly turned into terror as the family saw the embers landing on their roof. They rushed outside, grabbing coats, pulling their children into their arms as they fled into the safety of the street. Olivia moved to the next house, and the next, and the next. Every step was harder than the one before. Her lungs burned. Her knees ached. Sweat mixed with smoke on her skin. Her robe clung to her body uncomfortably. Her baby moved constantly now, restless, perhaps frightened by the chaos surrounding them. She whispered soothingly between breaths, "Stay with me, stay safe." House after house, she warned families. Some woke disoriented, some woke panicked, some woke crying, but all woke alive because of her. Finally, when every house was alerted and the street buzzed with terrified neighbors gathering outside, Olivia felt her strength finally falter. Her vision blurred around the edges. Her body swayed. Her breathing came shallow and uneven. The world around her echoed faintly, as though she were hearing everything through water. And when she tried to take another step, her body simply stopped. She gasped softly, clutching her belly. And then the world tilted. Olivia collapsed to her knees on the street as neighbors gasped in horror and rushed toward her. Voices swirled frantically. Someone called her name. Someone shouted for help. Someone said, "She's pregnant. Get her somewhere safe." Hands reached for her, lifting her gently, carrying her away from the drifting smoke and falling embers. She felt herself floating, untethered, unable to speak but comforted by strong arms supporting her. She sensed the cold air on her face, soothing and soft. She sensed her baby moving, still alive, still holding on. She sensed voices calling the fire department, calling her husband, trying to keep her awake. She sensed the warmth of a blanket placed around her shoulders. She sensed someone holding her hand with trembling gratitude. When she finally opened her eyes fully, she was inside an ambulance, oxygen mask over her face, her heartbeat loud and steady. Her baby kicked strongly, reassuringly, as though reminding her that she had not acted alone, that they had carried this courage together. The paramedic smiled softly. "Your baby is okay. You both are okay. Just breathe." Tears slipped down Olivia's face, mixing with the soot still marking her skin. Outside the ambulance window, she saw firefighters battling the blaze, neighbors hugging each other, families clutching their loved ones tightly, and the Talbots crying openly under the street lamp's glow. Word spread quickly how Olivia, 8 months pregnant, had gone door to door, risking her life and her child's to save her neighbors in the dark hours when everyone else slept. She hadn't acted for recognition. She hadn't acted for praise. She acted because her heart, full of maternal love, refused to let danger claim the lives of the people around her. For weeks, the town spoke of her courage with reverence. 4 months. They remember the night that could have ended in tragedy if not for a pregnant woman with a heart bigger than fear. And when the day finally came for Olivia to give birth, the town waited anxiously. When her daughter arrived, healthy, strong, and full of life, Maplewood welcomed her with an affection usually reserved for miracles. They said she had been born with a spirit of courage already inside her, because she had lived through fire before taking her first breath. Olivia named her daughter Hope, because that was what she had carried that night, what she had protected, what she had given to others, and what had been given back to her.